Welcome to the GPlama YouTube channel, where today's video is about the latest release from DJI. The DJI Action 4 sports camera, the 4th generation Osmo Action, and the 3rd generation that looks like this. The 2 was something else. Now, I'd consider myself a power user when it comes to action cameras, using a GoPro or something similar on the front of the bike or on a chest mount for every ride that I do. So when DJI reached out with the opportunity to review this new unit, I was keen to see where their camera technology was at. Now, given we're 12 months on from the release of the GoPro 11 series, they should have some pretty interesting specifications above and beyond those cameras, right? That's what we'll find out today. All right, coming up in this video, 5 things that I like about this unit, 5 things that I don't like about this unit, and 5 things that I'm a little on the fence with. Let's call it neutral on the feature sets and the usability of this DJI camera. But before getting to those, let's look at the specs, the pricing, and the unboxing of the Action bundle of this. Pulling up an overload of technical specifications here on the Osmo Action 4 and just cherry picking a few of the notable items. Field of view 155, I believe that's the widest we've seen by default on a sports action camera. Focus range only down to 40 centimeters. Sports action cameras not really known for their close-up focus ability. Video resolutions limited to only 4K with this camera, but I'll discuss this a little further in the video. Photo resolution 10 megapixels. Notable thing with the battery is the support of fast charge. You can get up to 80% charge in only 18 minutes. Stabilization, quite a few different modes there. Rock Steady Plus, Horizon Balancing, and Horizon Steady, allowing you to turn the camera a full 360, but only at a 2.7K/60 frames a second setting. Touchscreens back and front, waterproofing 18 meters. Other supported modes, webcam, live stream, and the ability to remove your selfie stick post-filming. Onto the pricing, which I'm sure is going to be a hot discussion point, with the standard combo coming in at US $399, the same as the current price of the GoPro Hero 11 Black. The Adventure combo, which we'll look at closely in just a few seconds, another $100 on top of that. The GPS Bluetooth remote, which you will need if you want GPS data from your camera, extra $79. And the cycling accessory kit, another $79 on top of that. So it appears the competition have caught wind of what's being released later today, with this popping up in my inbox as I'm editing this video, reminding me that the GoPro Hero 11 Black Plus accessories bundle comes in at $449.99 US, quite competitive against the Adventure bundle provided by DJI. Lots of competition in this space for sports action cameras. Anyhow, enough about this camera. Let's get into the unboxing of the DJI Action 4. Okay, now the fun begins. The Osmo Action 4 Adventure combo was such a heavy little box. I thought it was worth putting on the weight scale and seeing what it comes in at before even unboxing. 715 grams. It is such a solid little unit. All the details there on the back, all great, but let's get into it. And when in doubt, the knives come out. Let's speed this process up to see what's inside. Oh, always the best part of unboxing videos with technology, taking those protective stickers off. Okay, putting a battery in here, inevitably the wrong way first. It's always the way until I learn. And a 256 gig micro SD. And I tell you what, my first impressions are this feels, looks, and operates very familiar to me. Let's put on the scales and put their claim of 145 grams to the test, and spot on with the battery too. Now you're probably asking yourself, what about the Hero 11 Black comparison? Well, thankfully to Amazon and their recent sales, I've picked up a Hero 11 Black, having only the 11 Mini in the past, but the sales have been on thanks to Amazon, and let's put this head to head with the battery in. As you can see here, even installing the batteries and SD cards is effectively identical from both systems. Right, GoPro, 154 grams. But the Osmo needs its fins on, bringing it to 159 grams. Ah, devil's in the details, isn't it? Anyway, not too far off. So over the last 2 weeks, I've put the camera through its paces on all of my adventures, as seen here in the rolling hills up on the Gold Coast, and along the flat roads in the sunshine, but I can tell you the sun doesn't always shine in the Gold Coast. One of the days it did rain quite a bit as I passed Dracula's here on the left, but still a good test of the camera. Held up quite well there in the wet. Also here on the beach, capturing some big open sky shots. Absolutely beautiful beaches there up in Queensland. Little llama having some fun right there. No, Max, don't put that on the camera, please, mate. Again, more big open sky shots and those high rises. And while I was there, I thought I would test out the waterproofness. Now, I'm definitely not going down to 16 meters or 18 meters, but again, taking the opportunity to fully test the camera. Let's see what this wave has to say about going underwater. And I can confirm the camera held up very, very well after having a few dunks in the water there. Back home in Creswick,
Got you, buddy.
out with little Maxwell on the pump track and the mountain bike.
Oh, Max, you got it, man. All right. High five for the win, mate. Coming in. Good job. All right.
Bit of wind noise coming through the microphones on the DJI camera there. And finally, out on some trails with the GPS/Bluetooth remote on the handlebars, which was very handy to have when the camera was turned on. And if you look up the road just now, watch out, wallaby spotted right there. And I think that was a magpie swooping it. Now that's okay if the magpie stays swooping the other wildlife and not me. It's only a few weeks off until they start swooping people. So as you can see, I've spent quite a bit of time with this camera to get to know the ins and outs, the good, the bad, and I think I'm in a pretty good position to cover off what I like, what I don't like, and a few other things you'll need to know about this camera. Okay, onto my lists of things, because we all love lists, starting off with the 5 things that I like about the Osmo Action 4. The first one being is that it's a GoPro Hero clone. That's not a bad thing, it's actually a good thing. There was no learning curve with this, everything was very familiar, getting it up and running out of the box was straightforward. Big tick from me on that one. The startup and shutdown noises, I like those. Much better than those annoying beeps we get from the GoPro. So another tick from me on those startup and shutdown chimes. Quick capture, one press recording. Again, on the usability side of things, simplicity wins out. And with this, again, press the button, starts recording, press the button, it stops recording, doesn't get any easier than that. Front of the bike, chest mount, helmet mount, wherever you mount it, simplicity is there. Reliability, again, another tick from me on that one. I had no issues with this overheating. There was no implosions underwater, although I wasn't that deep. And yeah, it just simply worked. Although one thing of note, it's not really hot down here at the moment. It is the middle of winter, even up in Queensland. Now, the 5th thing that I have here is the Adventure Combo has exactly everything that I need. So I was very happy to unbox that and find 3 batteries, some extra mounts, the selfie stick, and that super handy charge case too. I've seen a few other people talk about these in the past with the Osmo 3, and yeah, this is super cool. It's things that I'd go out and buy anyway if I was buying the base model of a camera. So the Action Combo, again, ticks all my boxes. Now, I did say there were 5 things. Let me add a bonus to that, and that's the GoPro compatibility, or the GoPro fins, or the tri-fin, or however you want to call this. Meaning that if you've got mounts on the front of your bike, it can be quite expensive. This is compatible straight out of the box. Very, very handy to have. Okay, now on to the 5 things that I don't like. And look, let's start off with the big one, and that is the stabilization of this image in low light. It's quite evident out on the bike. Let's have a closer look at that in action. Pulling up the exact same footage as I showed you before when I was out and about riding with the camera up in the Gold Coast. And yes, those shots were cherry-picked. They were the pick of the bunch because the camera didn't perform as well in all scenarios. And by all scenarios, I mean, well, just up here around the corner where I moved from a very bright environment to a darker environment. And the 4K 60 with Rocksteady Plus on starts shaking around a little bit. Not quite sure how well it's going to come through on YouTube with its compression algorithm. But moving into a darker environment, the stabilization is, well, I would call it jittery. As I move out into a brighter environment, things become a lot smoother. Now that was bike mounted on the handlebars. Here's an example of the camera being mounted on the chest mount provided with the Action Combo. And what's happening here is when it's really struggling to stabilize the image, the colors almost wash out for a few milliseconds. Again, might be difficult to pick on YouTube, but it's quite evident looking closely at this footage, as I have been in post-analysis. Over here in the trails, and the stabilization here is really struggling. As you can see, things really shake around. Now, if you think I'm being a little too critical on this camera, let's have a look at my final example out on the road, which is very, very telling. Now, I wouldn't call this a dark day. There's some shadows still on the road there that you can see. Focus on the white car coming inbound. Looks very much like someone trying to track a UFO at Roswell. Bouncing around with that Rocksteady Plus on in lower light conditions across the bridge there, that pulsating of the sign. And I did have the GoPro on the bike in the exact same scenario. So here's that car coming inbound, a lot smoother. And the sign as it passes, again, easier to read. Now, I've had the luxury of rewinding and replaying and rewinding and replaying to save you having to do that here on YouTube. Here's the side-by-side of that. DJI Osmo Action 4 on the left, GoPro Hero 11 Black on the right, with equivalent settings for resolution, frame rates, and stabilization. Now, something I do quite often from my videos is pull still shots, and lining up the two side by side here, it's extremely clear which camera has the upper hand when it comes to the stabilization and therefore the image quality of the video and the still shots taken from. So some interesting results there out on the road and the trails that conflicts with the marketing material of this and its operation in low light conditions. Anyhow, it is what it is. Continuing on my list of things that I don't like about this unit, and this may be a little nitpicky, but it's something that I experienced out on the road which was a little frustrating, and that is the quick record button. It's not easy to find and it's not easy to press out on the road, especially when you've got full fingered gloves on. The competition, which this will be compared to, has a definite click to it. It's a larger button, it's easier to find. This one, it definitely took me about 2 or 3 goes to find where the button was and to press it on. Sitting here on the table, it's easy to press, maybe in a boardroom or in a meeting where this may have been decided on. Again, it's easy to press, it's not too different. Out on the road, it is a different experience, something I needed to report on because it was quite frustrating. Next up on my list is the quick capture. Takes a little while on initial boot to turn on, measured at around 8 seconds from pressing this button right now to it starting the quick capture and recording. And we are on. As opposed to the GoPro, which always measures in at around 2 to 3 seconds turn on, regardless of the state of the camera, well, it being off, not in sleep mode. Obviously it's nice and quick if the camera is turned on, but we're looking at 2 to 3 seconds there to turn on, super fast. This one on the other hand, well, has a bit of a personality disorder with that as well. So the quick capture I'll turn off on this one right now after that 8-second startup. And sometimes follow-up quick starts will be super quick. Sometimes they'll be that 8 seconds again. I just found some inconsistency with this. So let's try it right here as I'm recording. Turn on, okay, bang, instant. Super fast turn on, almost faster than the GoPro with that. But that initial turn on was around 8 seconds. I'm guessing this goes into some kind of sleep mode. It is very loud. I'm guessing this goes into some kind of sleep mode, which allows for quick capture later on at a really high speed. But that initial turn on, 8 seconds, and sometimes it wasn't always super quick, so there may be some time out there. Anyway, some inconsistencies with how fast this turns on. Next up on my list is there's no ability to grab a snapshot or a still image from the video captured on this from the mobile app. Now, my typical use case for grabbing those snapshots is I'll go out for a ride, take some footage of some interesting environments, I'll get home, park the bike, sit down, have something to eat, load the ride to Strava, I'll pull out the mobile app, connect to whichever sports camera I have, scrub through the video, find some interesting frames, export those to the camera, upload those to Strava, Instagram, wherever, and then I'll go about my day. It's quite an easy workflow that I've gotten used to with the GoPros. Unfortunately, that exact feature isn't available on these cameras. I can download the footage, the entire video, I can trim the video, but I can't take an easy snapshot and export it in full resolution with their app. Something they could probably easily add later on, and I'd love to see, but definitely something that was frustrating when coming home from a ride with this. That workflow process led me to discover another frustration with this camera, and that's the fact that it's not always Bluetooth beaconing, meaning that when I get home and want to pull out my phone and connect to the camera to scrub through the footage and somehow grab a screenshot, I need to manually turn this on. With the GoPro 11, I can park the bike, and if I'm in Bluetooth range, I pull out the phone, it'll always just Bluetooth connect, turn the camera on, scrub through the footage, grab an image, upload, and be done with it. This, I needed to be within reach of the camera to turn the thing on. This probably also explains why the remote can't turn the camera on or off, which is a big miss, I think. And I did say 5 plus 1 for this. Bonus round of things I don't like about this, and look, it's going to be hotly discussed with this camera, and it comes down to the price. The price of this camera is so close, if not identical to the GoPro Hero, that people will really need to look hard at the specs to choose what they want, the features that are important to them. If the Action 4 was a good deal lower than the Hero range, then it would make everybody's choice a little easier. Doesn't match it on specs, doesn't match it on price, that evens things out. And that's exactly the conclusion of a lot of reviews of the Action 3, which was put up against the 11 quite a bit online. But with the price of the Action 4 matching, or being very close to the GoPro Hero 11, it's going to be an interesting time to see where this lands. Anyhow, there's my 5 things that I don't like plus 1 about this camera. On to the 5 things that I'm somewhat neutral on. Starting off with the front touchscreen of this. It's a nice feature to have. For me, didn't actually make much use of it though. It's easy to frame the shot on the front of the bike. Just make sure the camera is stable and pointing in the right direction. You're good to go. Also, on the chest mount it in the right spot. It's not as if I could be using this upside down or changing modes. So for me, it's a bit of a meh, good to have. Is it a must have? Definitely not. Next up, the look and feel of the camera. I'm a bit neutral about. There's no question about it. The design of this is very, very, very similar to that of a GoPro, right down to the fact that the body itself is a hard plastic on both, and the bumpers are a little softer on both too, which gives them both a little bit more grip. This has a little bit more of a 3D printed feel to it. Is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing? For me, it's all about how the camera operates, not how it feels. Definitely an observation that I had though. Next up, having to buy an accessory to get GPS data with this could be seen as a good thing, maybe, could be seen as a bad thing. With the GoPro Hero 11 and other units having GPS already built in, the bonus of buying an additional unit is that you get a remote for this as well. However, it is an additional cost, it is something that has to be charged, and it is something that has to be paired to this unit too. I found it convenient having that remote on the front of the bike. However, with it not being able to turn the camera on or off, I found its use somewhat limited. The next thing I'll focus on is the Invisi stick, which they say is for skiing, but they showed mountain biking there. Now, this video is from the promo of the Osmo Action 3. The Osmo Action 4 also has a similar feature and functionality. However, it doesn't currently work. In a nutshell, you'll take a video, you'll upload it to their servers, it will remove the selfie stick and appear to be hanging their camera in space. I think it's something that's super cool. Does need to be more than just skiing though, and is quite limited at the moment. So for me, I love the feature. It looks pretty cool on bikes with other manufacturers, namely Insta360. If they can sort this out and make it a little quicker and higher resolution, I think it'll be quite interesting. But yeah, for me, it makes my meh list at this point in time. And last on my list of things that I'm neutral on, only 4K maximum resolution on this. That's definitely lower than what GoPro are doing at the high end with, I think it's 5.3K. But for me, my use case, 4K is more than enough. In fact, 2.7K is also more than enough for what I need. For me, I'd rather have quality over quantity when it comes to pixel count. Although with the results you saw out on the road, this is 4K and the quality was, well, it is what it was. Now, a few other things of note before I leave you today. The unit that I had here had an issue with condensation on the inside of the lens on my first ride up in Queensland. Now, I hadn't removed the lens or had the camera anywhere near water prior to this ride, so it was an interesting one to encounter. Now, I did have this exact issue with the GoPro Hero 6 back in the day, I believe it was, on an initial ride too. So whether it's a factory thing, whether it's a first ride thing, whether it's the environments I'm riding in, I don't know, but it did occur with this camera. Now, on to an audio quality test of the DJI 4 up against the Hero 11. Audio test of the DJI Action 4 sports camera. Audio test of the GoPro Hero 11 Black sports camera. By my ear, the DJI just edged out the GoPro a little bit there in that test, although I'd be looking at using external mics for situations where things could get really windy or you're not always the same distance from the camera. A quick side note on which external mics that I use, and I do use the DJI mic kits. They are absolutely brilliant. I'm using one right now into my pocket to the head unit that's connected to this camera. There's no main/head unit connected. It will self-record to a WAV file in my pocket, which I can upload later on. They are absolutely brilliant. Anyway, external mics are something you must use if you're after quality audio in all situations. And on a similar note, voice control, or audio quality of it understanding what I'm saying. Now the voice control on this is quite limited. I think there's only 4 or 5 commands. It would start recording, stop recording, shut the camera down. But asking this to take a photo in my Aussie accent, no go. It just wouldn't understand what I was saying for taking a photo. Alrighty, with that, we'll leave it there for today. That's my take on the Osmo Action 4 camera and my use cases. There is so much more to this camera, so I definitely recommend checking out all the other reviews out there, and there is going to be quite a few of them on release day today. I've no doubt there's going to be a lot of debate around the specs, performance, and price point of this. And when it comes to the head-to-head comparisons, I am very, very keen to see what the professionals say about these two. And with that, I'm off to watch the other reviews. I recommend you do the same too. Thanks for watching.